Before this video starts, I just want to give a massive shout out to all my channel members. If you want to receive a shout out, then become a channel member today and you'll be shown on screen like all these other channel members here. Anyways, enjoy the video. On August 23rd, version 12.6 dropped in the Japanese version, and this is a rather interesting update, and I want to talk about everything that was added in this version. Since we have loads to cover, all I ask is if you enjoy this video, give it a like and sub to the channel if you haven't already, and comment down below what was the most exciting thing about this update was for you. Anyways, we have loads to cover. Our first new unit is a new unit for the Elemental Pixies, this being Tekachi, an Elemental Pixie that takes on the element of Steel. Being a Pixie, their abilities and stats are different between the two forms, so I'll talk about the smaller version first. Tekachi has 46,750 health, deals 11,900 damage with 1,622 DPS, and has 2 knockbacks. This unit has a range of 130 and an attack frequency of 7.33 seconds and a TBA of 5.33 seconds. They have a speed of 8, comparable to the basic cat. They cost 1,050 cents to send out and have a cooldown of 17.87 seconds. They have a 10% chance to dodge floating, angel, and alien attacks for 2 seconds, 2.4 seconds with treasures. They're also warp immune and surge immune. The first form really has nothing going for it, since the only form of taking hits is their rather relatively small dodge chance. If the first form had a faster cooldown or an increased chance to dodge, it would be a niche but useful tank against these traits, but 10% for a unit that takes a while to recharge isn't going to be all that useful. The second form, Tetsukachi, has 93,500 health, deals 30,600 damage, and has 170 range. They have a DPS of 4,172, have a cooldown of 71.2 seconds, and cost 3,300 cents to send out. They gain the resist ability, giving them an effect of 467,500 health against floating, angel, and alien enemies. They also gain a 100% chance to break barriers. Unlike the first form, this form could be used as an okay tank thanks to their resist ability. However, their dodge chance is still only 10%, so it's best to treat it as a bonus more than anything. Their DPS is also rather low, meaning it will take them a long while to take down any of their foes. Also, since this unit only has a range of 170, this means that they will be constantly exposed to enemy fire. This unit struggles on mixed stages that feature an enemy type besides their resists, because their base health is rather low, meaning they can still die quickly. The best usage for this unit is on stages where you can help take on surging enemies that they resist, such as Saint Dober or Hazuku, though do mind their support. The competition they face with other alien tankers is large, especially in its own set, but this unit does have a niche use for a surge immune tank against their targets. The second unit is Fallen Bearcat, who was obtained from Empress Excavation 5. Fallen Bearcat shares many similarities between them and the other bear units, but does have a few small differences. Fallen Bearcat targets Aku enemies and has the Behemoth Slayer ability. They have a base damage of 9,520 with 2,720 DPS. They also have a range of 165, which is 25 more than the other bear units. Besides these, they share the exact same health, knockback count, and attack frequency along with speed, cooldown, and cost. Against non-Behemoth Akus, they deal 47,600 damage with 13,600 DPS. Against non-Aku Behemoths, they deal 23,800 damage with 6,800 DPS and have 22,666 health. Against Aku Behemoths, they deal 119,000 damage with 34,000 DPS. This means they can quickly wear down the health of the Faliverant and land great chip damage against Rangmaster. Against regular Aku enemies, they are relegated to mostly fighting the melee enemies, but the biggest of them all is Akugori. While they only outrange by 5, if you can stall Akugori, Fallen Bearcat will take huge chunks of his health and can be super useful if you lack other options. In order to hatch this egg, you need 15 purple and blue Behemoth stones, as well as 2 red and green Behemoth gems, along with the yellow Behemoth gem. In this update, there is only one true form, the last Akuber to gain a true form, being Furiluga, becoming Rageland Pasalan. This unit is a reference to Gon from Hunter x Hunter when he ages to an older version of himself when under extreme fury. The changes to Furiluga include a 50% boost to their health, going from 20,400 health to 30,600 health. They also have a reduction to their TBA, going from 17.33 seconds to 13.33 seconds, giving them a slight boost to their DPS, going from 1,118 DPS to 1,433 DPS. They also gain Surge immunity and a 100% chance to spawn a level 2 mini Surge from the ranges of 800 to 1,000. The biggest thing added is their surge immunity, meaning they will no longer be blasted to death by death surges. The other tools they gain in their true form, while not being the biggest things, make it so that Fearluga is no longer complete shite and is actually somewhat usable. Granted, it's still somewhat tricky to use, but now it's actually somewhat competent. Like all anti-Aku true forms, they require an Epic Seed and 3 Aku Cat Fruit. For 3 updates in a row, only 1 unit got talents. The unit this time around is Lasvos Reborn, who gains the standard attack and defense talents as well as movement speed up, Colossus Slayer, and cooldown reduction talents. The cooldown talents reduce their cooldown from 71.2 seconds to 64.53 seconds. And I'm just gonna say it, and that this talent is just not worth it. The reduction is only 6.67 seconds, meaning you are dumping tons of NP into a talent that isn't really needed because you can just wait those extra 7 seconds. Now what Lasvos should have gotten instead was cost down talents, but oh well, what can you do? Colossus Slayer, on the other hand, allows Lasvos to pull off some whack stuff. A level 60 Lasvos who lands a Savage Blow and is strengthened against the Colossus enemy can deal 2,488,320 damage. On screen is a chart showing just how much damage this translates to into practice against the major Colossus bosses, one without any combos and one with 25% attack combos. The fact that Lasvos can enable some of this stuff is really humorous to me because they just have a chance to cripple these bosses. Is it practical? Probably not, but it's still funny nonetheless. In terms of Ultra talents, 2 units gain them this update. The first one is Mad Dr. Clay, who gains Colossus Slayer, Surge Immunity, and Target Traitless. Mad Dr. Clay is now able to deal bonus damage to 2 whole Colossus enemies, but Target Traitless is actually a pretty huge talent. Clay can now deal tons of damage to one of the least specialized traits in the game. This opens Clay to being used in tons of stages. The Surge Immunity also makes him super useful against Cappy Jr., Cappy Kawano, and if you have the Curse Immunity talent, Master Earl. He is so good against Earl, in fact, that every single hit he lands with a level 2 or more attack talent will knock Earl back. This means that if you invest into a level 60 Clay and unlock the Target Traitless and Surge Immune talents, Earl becomes pretty free. For the Colossus Slayer, this is really only meant for Super Hippo, and with Colossus Slayer, a level 60 Clay with max attack can deal about a quarter of their health. It seems that with these last few updates, they've been focusing on new toys to counter Super Hippo. First it was with Jetpack Cat, and now this. The second unit to gain Ultra talents is Almighty Anubis. He gains TBA reduction talents as well as cost down and a shield piercing talent. The cost down talents bring down the cost of Anubis from 4,200 to 3,600, making him slightly easier to send out, but this isn't really too needed. Anubis with Surge Immune talents, along with the new shield piercing talents, makes him a pretty good shield piercer, but his biggest talent of them all is the TBA reduction talents. The difference to Anubis' DPS is really visible when comparing an Anubis with no TBA reduction talents and one with them. A difference of 10k DPS, as Anubis gains 25,681 DPS without including the Surge with a level 8 TBA reduction. Just like with Copper Mine, you only need to level up the TBA reduction so far before it becomes worthless to continue upgrading. To factor the Surge, the DPS effectively shoots to 33,385 DPS. On a unit which isn't a specialized unit, this sort of DPS is really good. Though there isn't really anything you can do about that Lawn Force Wing. Anubis is a really expensive unit to invest in, but if you really wanted to, you could turn Anubis from one of the worst Almighties to one of the best. Next to cover are the new enemies. There are 2 new enemies added to this update. The first is Mega Baba. They are a colossal traitless variant of Baba, having a health stat of 48,000 health, 1 knockback, dropping only 790 cash, and have a TBA of 2 seconds. They have a multi-hit that is split into 3 attacks that each deal 13,000 damage for a total of 39,000 damage. They have a standing range of 200 and have an Omni Strike that hits from -70 range to 230 range. They also have the Surge Mirror ability, meaning that landing a Surge against this enemy will be somewhat deadly. The second enemy is Crocodilidae Kurocroc, a black behemoth enemy who has a massive 2.9 million health and deals 30,000 damage with a standing range of 300 with an Omni Strike that hits between -300 to 450 range, giving them 150 pierce. They have 7,438 DPS and no TBA, but an attack frequency of 4.03 seconds. The gimmick of this enemy is that they'll constantly bite at your units as they have 20 knockbacks and a speed of 40. They're also immune to slow and freeze. They also weaken your units to 50% power for 3 seconds. They also have a huge cash drop of 13,825. The Monster Hunter reference for this enemy is the Brute Tigrex, in which they share the trait of having protrusions that come out of their front legs that turn red when enraged. The red coloration comes from the increased blood flow, and the same distinction is featured in the Brute Tigrex's eyes. The new subchapter added is Cats of a Common Sea, but before we get into the new stuff, we have new UL stars to cover. Humanity, Catified, and Sacred Forest 3 stars are now available, and these stages have a magnification boost of 120%. This update marks the end of 3-star Uncanny Legends. 4 stars also available for Dead Heatland, Rose-Colored Road, and Behemoth's Peak. The new subchapter, Cats of a Common Sea, has 6 stages. The first stage, Undertow Coast, features infinite hippos, heavenly hippos, and hypos, along with 5 zombos, 1 super metal hippo, 2 cappies, 2 little white cyclones, and 1 coronium. Great Barrier Free features 6 Gardenil Bros, infinite relic doges and mega babas, along with the Wicked Face and 2 Fallen Bears. Ominous Fin Alert features infinite trolley bloggers, 7 devil wives, 5 H-Naws, and 3 Calamarias. 2 Miles Below features infinite snaches, 15 wild doges, 5 douches, 2 Muths, 3 Shy Boys, a Lenoir, and Hazuku serving as the boss. Sea Cave Habitat features a Sir Seal, 2 Mega Babas, 2 Condemned Pings, a Moth, and 11 Assassin Bears. The last level features infinite Shibalians and Gabriels, 31 Squirrels, 2 Cyberhorns, 2 Gokurakus, a Kleewon, and continuing the trend of adding Advent enemies to Zero Legends, Cleonal is featured. However, unlike the previous Advent bosses, she is still at the base magnification instead of 150% like the others. Empress Excavation 5 features Kukurok as the boss for each level, and the reward is the egg for Fallen Bear Cat. The first level features infinite Wild Doges, Gabriels, and Doge Darks, along with 2 Raging Gories, 1 Angelic Gory, 1 Cappy, and 1 Gokurako. Level 2 features infinite Aku Doges and Brawlos, along with 4 Thrillers, 5 Devil Wives, 2 Engabarus, 6 Zolos, and a Rangmaster. Level 3 has infinite Croxos, 2 Mistress Syllaboodles, 1 Pigakis, 4 Gregories, 6 Wild Doges, and 1 Dionel. The last level features 3 Metal Hippos, 25 Squirrels, 6 Mr. Angels, 3 Boar Juniors, 1 Crockley, and 1 Engabaru. Next up is a new event called Machines in Revolt, and if you remember what Resident Undead was, then this is basically the same thing, but with metal enemies. Every level here is called Hard Reset. Level 1 features a singular steel snake. Level 2 has 9 metal snakes, infinite squirrels, and a metal hippo. Level 3 has 4 metal balls, infinite croconators, and 3 liboines. Level 4 has infinite metal snakes, 6 metal hippos, and 4 one-horns. Level 5 has infinite croconators, 28 doge darks, and 3 dark otters. Level 6 has 4 metal one-horns, 25 metal snakes, and a super metal hippo. Level 7 has infinite croconators and metal doges, 5 metal hippos, and Teacher Cybear finally breaks free from Cybear's revenge for his second appearance ever on a level. Level 8 features infinite snaches and metal snakes, 4 metal Arosts, and 2 regular Arosts. Level 9 has 5 metal one-horns, infinite metal doges, 7 metal hippos, infinite coffin doges, 4 zappies, and Lord Gravy. Level 10 has infinite metal snakes, 20 Hater Baba 2.0s, Mercury Sloth, 2 Sir Metal Seals, 3 super metal hippos, and a Coronium. Every level here gives a cat ticket as a reward. Now for the big part of the update is the outbreaks for Cats of the Cosmos Chapter 2. Since there's way too many levels here, I will direct you to this video where I go through every single level featured in these outbreaks, but I can give a general idea of what these levels have. Across the 48 levels, 7 new enemies are added to the Cats of the Cosmos saga, these being Wild Doge, Engabaru, Ariant, Chibanel, Pigakis, Raging Gory, and JJ Jackrabbit. Outside of Ariant and Cat's Eye Nebula and Sirius, all of them are featured at 100% magnification. The starred aliens have varying strength on each stage. From Earth to Calabash Nebula, their strength is around mid Cats of the Cosmos Chapter 3. From Altair to Plum Pit, they're around late Cats of the Cosmos Chapter 3. Lastly, from Durarara to the Big Bang, their strength is around the strength you fight them post-Dogumaru, or Primitive Souls. I will mention one stage in particular, this being Mercury. For some reason, there is a unique Shibalian Elite spawn that shows up after 55 minutes or 100,000 frames. This means they have the longest initial spawn time out of any enemy in the game. For the miscellaneous changes and additions, we now have more options for the labyrinth that make it slightly easier and slightly less tedious. They have added options that allow you to show the upcoming enemies in the next stage after a defeat, an option to disable the temporary ranking screen, the option to automatically delete trapped units, and the option to randomize the lineup. There is also now a volume slider for the background and sound effects with 4 different ranged options. You have mute, low, medium, and max. They also added an option to display units either by level or deploy cost. However, deploy cost is only available in the equip menu. They also have added the option in the filter menu for evolvable units after completing Empire of Catch Chapter 3 and units you have that also have talents unlocked after Into the Future Chapter 3. Other things added are a new cat combo called Anger Management, featuring Rage Lamp Hastelan and Cat Researcher. This combo is a worker cat start level medium. Lastly is the new user rank rewards, in which user rank 20,700 gives 3 Meteorite Z, 20,800 gives 3 Beastbone Z, and 20,900 gives 3 Ammonite Z. Now this update was smaller than the last few updates, but the big thing is the new Cats of the Cosmos outbreaks, but with Fury Luga's true form actually making this unit somewhat usable is always nice. And Kuro Croc is such a cool enemy in terms of their design as well as how the enemy functions. If you enjoyed this update analysis, then be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, comment down below on what was the most interesting part of the update was to you. Also, shout out to Carlos Solitaros for being a gold member. If you wish to receive a shout out, then become a silver member or higher and you can feature your name besides a unit of your choice. Also, being a member gives you an exclusive role in my Discord server, for which you can find a link to in the description of this video. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.